pass on the street to lie. You don't need anymore, I see it. It's with God now. So I will sum up what I've said last week since 2 weeks ago, since it was very deep, and I want to just bring back the main point. Now you know that I'm addressing to those of you which I consider as the inner circle. Paramahansa Yogananda said there are two kinds of people in the world. There are those who seek God and those who don't. But among those who seek God, there are two kinds of people. There is the inner and the outer circle. Those who are steadfast, who constantly try week after week, month after month, year after year, to discipline themselves and expand their mind. Why? Because they have now a deep inner conviction that they are divine beings and they want to be free. I remember I was in Pasadena last week into the seminary for the youth retreat, and there was a young black lady there, which I said to her, you know, after all, we are time travelers. And she looked at me and she said, what else can we do with the immortals? My God, what a magnificent answer. And that lady was on the path. Therefore, I would like to take those words from Sri Aurobindo, one of the great sages of India, who tell us what we should do if we really mean business. He says, to do this yoga, the yoga of transformation, which is the most arduous of all things, is possible only if you feel that you have come here for that. I mean, here upon earth. That for you nothing else is worth doing. That is, it is the very reason of your existence. Even if you have to labor, suffer, struggle, it is of no importance. For you want that realization and nothing else. Once you have set your foot on the path of yoga, you must have an iron resolution and walk straight to the goal at any cost. Now, if you have that kind of determination, you're going to make it. We have to turn off the fan for a while. I think otherwise I will be blown away with my sign here. I showed you last 2 weeks ago this poster here to give you an explanation why we are meditating and what we are trying to achieve. Everybody else is seeking God with the mind. Particularly every religion is seeking to find God through the mind. This is why in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, greater than karma yogis and greater than jnana yogis, is not therefore a yogi Arjuna. As long as you worship God with your ego, no matter how advanced your ego is, you are experiencing duality. That is, that as you develop yourself spiritually, if you're a Jnana yogi, you're going to work God as cosmic intelligence, which is called Jnana Yoga, in which you use ceaselessly your intelligence to separate that which belongs to your soul and that which belongs to your ego. It requires an absolute iron will, not for everybody else. Because as you have cosmic intelligence, you have cosmic ignorance in this world. Then the second aspect of God is the cosmic sound of Om, which has 3 different rhythms: creation, preservation, destruction. One vibration draws everything back to God, one is neutral, and the other one repulses you from God. So you have cosmic sound, elevating, and cosmic destructive. In that sound is creation, preservation, and destruction. Then you have cosmic light, and you have cosmic darkness. All of us here are in cosmic darkness. We have eyes and see not, we have ears, we hear not. We do not see that great light of God in which we are living. Therefore we are in a state of blindness. Then you have cosmic wisdom, which was the role of every religion of the world to teach union, not separativeness. Instead to teach cosmic wisdom, they are teaching cosmic confusion. There have been endless war between religious people in the name of one God. Everybody willing to kill each other and die for their religion except to live. Then we have cosmic joy. Then we have cosmic sorrow because people do not know they are immortals. Therefore, when you lose a child, a father, a mother, everybody grieves. Everybody grieves because everybody experiences death. They do not know they are immortal. Then you have cosmic peace, and you have endless cosmic unrest everywhere. Then you have cosmic beauty, and you have cosmic ugliness of the human behavior toward one another, with torture, coercion, camp, oppression, dictatorship, and so on. Then you have cosmic love, and you have cosmic hate, as was well seen in the Second World War. Therefore, as long as you worship God with the mind, be you a bhakti, be you a karma yogi, be you a jnana yogi, you experience the duality. But there is one there which you do not, and there it is. It is cosmic bliss. Cosmic bliss, Lord Krishna says, Arjuna, be anchored in that which is changeless. And in that, once you have attained that cosmic bliss, which is nothing else but your own soul, divine nature, you experience all those states of God without duality. Therefore, instead to seek God with your ego, you shut off the five senses, you turn off everything out of you, and you look at the door to the infinite where God can be perceived without duality, and that is known as the spiritual eye. All of us have on the forehead an oblong eye here, which is now closed because we are in a human body, but in the astral form, it is partially open. If we would read in the autobiography of a yogi, The Resurrection of Sri Yukteswara, he gives the best explanation about the astral world, and he explained that those who are advanced, their spiritual eye is partially open. And this is the door toward the infinite. This represents duality, the Holy Ghost, the Om vibration. This represents the Christ consciousness. It's still in creation. But once you go through that door of the spiritual eye, you emerge into cosmic consciousness. This is cosmic mind. And you still have an ego there. Even when you have attained Christ consciousness, that you have stretched your mind all the way to the edge of the causal, the astral, and the physical, the Maya can still get you. Once you are out of the door, Maya can touch you anymore. You see, it's called cosmic consciousness. The difference between Christ consciousness and cosmic consciousness means that Christ consciousness means cosmic mind. And cosmic consciousness, there is no more mind. You are soul consciousness alone, one with God. So those are the important points. Why the yogi meditate? Why do we concentrate in deep darkness into the spiritual eye? Because he wants to attain cosmic bliss. It is why meditation is the highest form, the spiritual form, to free yourself from all duality. It is why the Master said, if you cannot find a spiritual man or a spiritual woman, do not get married, for you shall never be loved. It's simple. How can anyone be steady in anything as long as his entire being is controlled by a dualistic ego? So the Bhagavad Gita confirmed that in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 verse 6, God say, understand that this dual nature of mine, the pure and the impure Holy Ghost, are the womb of all creature. I am the progenitor, the sustainer, and the dissolver of the cosmos. So this is called the jealous God, the God with two faces, one good and one evil. Now, here are described the instrument by which you are going to go back to God. The cognizer is the soul, not the ego consciousness. The object of cognition is the spiritual eye, not your five senses. The instrument of cognition is the intuition, not the intellect. Therefore, every apparatus which the ego has been given to you to mislead you. That's why Bertrand Russell said very simply, he said, oh Lord, if you will forgive me the little joke I did to you, I will forgive you the big joke you did to me. And that is simple and clear. The moment God put you in a state of amnesia and gave you an ego consciousness, you became a spiritual paraplegic. The Master said, your spine became paralyzed. You have to understand that the mind is a work in outside the spiritual eye. He say here, the divine intelligence in us works with the inside of the spiritual eye, the soul seat of man's soul consciousness, which extend from the point between the eyebrows and the central top of the head. Now here is the divine intelligence called Buddhi. This works from inside the spiritual eye. The other mind, which is known as manas, works outside the spiritual eye, and therefore is totally identified with the outside world. It is why in the technique of Hong So, we are asking you to stop those two currents, the inhalation and the exhalation known as prana and apana, so that the energy can withdraw into the spine, climb through the spine, reach buddhi, which is here, or discriminative intelligence, and then you begin to walk in that state of intuitive awareness. For instance, Tridayamata, our president, is a soul walking with a body, and me, I'm a body walking with a soul. Now that makes a world of difference in a kind of perception we have around us. You remember how I spoke to you of the horizon of superconsciousness. That unless you meditate properly, you can meditate for 30 years, you are never going to get any results. I spoke to you of a horizon of consciousness on which you are being told to not close completely your eyes. If you put something in darkness there, you cannot meditate. If you open your eyes and meditate, you can't meditate either. You must close your eye to the point it is barely open, it is in between darkness and in between line, and you focus on that line. If you want an illustration, next time you go to the ocean, look where at about 5 o'clock at night, look where you can see very well the horizon, the sky and the ocean. That horizon where the sky meets with the ocean is that horizon you want to look in a straight line. That's why I say here, the dividing line between the upper darkness and the earthly lower light, or the half closed and half open eye, is called the horizon of superconsciousness. A person meditating with closed eye may fall asleep. Trying to meditate with open eye, he may be thwarted by a stubborn vision of matter. That is why the yogi is advised to avoid the total darkness of closed eye and the full light of open eye. Instead, he concentrates his vision on a superconscious horizon. Further, he says, if a person deeply concentrates on a forehead, when darkness and light meet, without straining the eyes, he gradually learns to penetrate through the spiritual eye into the superconscious beatitude. In this way, the mortal habits of frontal vision, of perceiving dimensional matter, is changed into a spherical vision of intuitive perception of the omnipresence. Therefore, the whole idea of the meditation is the cultivation of concentration upon that spiritual eye. If the moment your eye goes down, you fall asleep. You begin to move forward like that. I sit among you. You are not locked up. That's why, again and again, your meditation, lock your eye up. If you are not sure, touch yourself here very gently, and then lock them up and start again. In spite of eye strain, because at first it's a little bit straining, we are not used to look like that. Therefore, in spite of eye strain, the yogi beginner should calmly concentrate his vision at the point between the eyebrows, not looking around or flickering his eyeballs. In time, he will see the spherical spiritual eye. Through it, he will sail into omnipresence. When the yogi concentrates there long enough, with half-open eye, he will be able to see a steady light surrounded by other, but flickering light. He should not be diverted by this glimmering halo of the spiritual eye, but should steadfastly look at the center of the eye until he feels his mind completely lost within it. This astral eye can easily be seen at night in a dark room if the devotee concentrates deeply enough at the point between the eyebrows for a long time without altering his gaze. The highly developed yogi can see the spiritual eye even in daytime or in the front of any strong light. Just as a drowsy man can sleep in the day or night, so the advanced yogi can see the spiritual eye and go into ecstasy at will, irrespective of the presence of darkness or any kind of light. He learns to penetrate his being in the astral light, in the astral eye. Now you know what is being said. He learns to penetrate his being, his whole being, not just his mind, but the whole of himself in the astral eye, and look into the realm of spirit, emanating there oblivious of the material world. So it is why you are being disciplined into surrendering yourself more and more to the will of God. How can you enter into those higher states of consciousness until the ego becomes relaxed? That is why we are, and the Western man is so intellectually uptight that he cannot feel. There's a difference between the Hindu and the Western people. The Hindus are able to feel. Everything has to be rationalized with the mind. It takes a long time before we feel. So we are unable to love one another. So this spiritual eye has been known through every civilization. In the Bible it is known as the morning star. To all those who overcame, I shall give them the morning star. Ezekiel said, behold, I placed a diamond in thy forehead. It is known as the white stone, the east gate, the pillar of cloud by day, the pillar of fire by night, the field white unto harvest, the holy mountain, the New Jerusalem, the Zion, the holy Benares. The Hindu believes if they die in Benares that they're going to have salvation. And since Sri Ramakrishna said that in his book, I went to Sri Dayamata because I knew that Sri Ramakrishna can't be wrong. I asked Mother, I said, how is it possible? She said, what Sri Ramakrishna meant, that anyone who has cultivated during his life foundation on the spiritual life, in the moment of death, he will be called upon the spiritual life and will exit straight out without any kind of limitation and will attain salvation. But unless you meditated a great many years here, you won't be there. Because the moment you begin to breathe, stop breathing, fear begin to come to you, and nature gives you a hypodermic in which you do not feel any pain, you just fall completely unconscious. Only those who have developed fearlessness can walk the other side totally conscious, which you are learning now through meditation in the blessed state. Once you have conquered death while in the human body, then death becomes only the entry in a different dimension consciously. Probably, maybe 75% of the world enter the other side unconscious. So, from the Bible, from Ezekiel chapter 43, verse 1 and 2, I want to bring some Bible quote. It said, afterward he brought me to the gate, even the gate that looketh toward the east. And behold, the glory of God came from the way of the east. And his voice was like many waters, and the earth shined with his glory. And the commentary of Paramahansa Yogananda, he said, through the divine eye in the forehead, which is the gate of the east, the yogi sails his consciousness of omnipresence, hearing the divine sound of Om, of many waters vibration, the vibration of light that constitute the soul reality with its creation. You do not experience really anything in meditation until you can go to that spiritual eye. He said, by looking through the physical eye, one beholds one's body as a wave of life separates from the ocean of life, whereas looking into the spiritual eye, one sees the ocean of spirit becoming the wave of life. That is why Jesus said, therefore if thine eye be single, thy body shall be full of light, thy body shall be full of cosmic energy, and you will be able to see from your 30,000 billion cells, not just through your two eyes, looking all your life through your five senses, but your whole being explode into an intelligence of multiplied 30,000 billion times, because it is your consciousness. When you look at me with every cell of your body instead to look with your eyes, then you are going to see something else. That's what the Bible tells us, that the shepherds and the wise men saw a star and followed it to see Jesus Christ. This is an historical fact, but it has a deeper interpretation. No star from the sky came to earth and entered the room where Jesus was born. It was the light of the star in the spiritual eye that the wise men saw and were guided by. It led them to the baby Jesus, in whose body Christ's consciousness was manifested. The guiding star can also be interpreted as our discrimination, the shepherd that leads our sheepish thoughts homeward on the proper path of life and to the fold of wisdom. Our astronomers still think it was a star was moving and they kept following, when actually the masters were following the inner light of their spiritual eye to see Jesus. The spiritual eye should be developed, that it will not only see true vision of this earth life, but also vision of the luminous astral forces and universe that constitute the subtle astral cosmos by increasing willpower. Now there lie your problem and my problem. The development master said the only salvation is willpower. Therefore, the increase of willpower by any method you can think of begin to bring an enormous amount of energy into you and begin to raise the frequency of all your cells. And as you begin to feel that power within you, you begin to have divine power developing within yourself. That's why I say here, by developing willpower and by idealistic thoughts about yourself and by concentrating it between the eyebrows, one can convert the spiritual eye into a mental and astral broadcasting station. The advanced student who is able to penetrate the star in the spiritual eye can project his consciousness into the spiritual eye of another person. You realize what's happened when you have somebody in your family who has opened the spiritual eye. He can take care of the entire family health, the entire family future and destiny. It is why one of the great kings of India during the Higher Age, no one was sick in that nation, and no one died of earthly death, because from his spiritual eye, he was keeping everybody recharged with cosmic energy. So great is the power we have. In the future, our doctor will heal us not with chemistry, but with their own God-given power, if we become receptive to it. Remember that. The karmic laws, the karmic fires are ready to open, to give to the world all the necessary information to free us from suffering, if we make the effort to change our ways of life. Remember that. There is endless ways God is willing to heal us, but we have to begin to apply scientific principles. It's why he said he can send helpful thought vibration to his friends and relatives in the astral world or in the physical world through their spiritual eye. You can communicate to the other side with those who have left the body through your spiritual eye. In fact, there is a technique there. The master will give you a technique in the lesson by which you can communicate with the astral people by concentrating upon the spiritual eye. You send the energy and you wait and receive the broadcasting station, and the receiving station is your heart. They give that actual technique. By the application of intuition, the spiritual eye and the heart become radio-like receiving station, and by concentration of willpower, they become astral broadcasting station. In John 4, verse 35, Jesus is telling us to lift our consciousness into the light of God in the spiritual eye, which is reflected there as a cosmic mirror. And do not doubt the possibility of what you can achieve. He said, "Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and there cometh the harvest. But behold, I say unto you, lift your eyes and look on fields, for they are white already to harvest." Now listen to the translation from Cosmic Awareness of Our Guru. Jesus used the parable for the sower, laborer, and the harvesting time to illustrate the superior law of the divine harvester. In ordinary farming, there is a great deal of labor, and a harvest comes in about 4 months after planting. But Jesus said that the spiritual harvest is not a matter of waiting, laboring, and then acquiring the spiritual harvest, but it is a matter of knowing that one already in a latent form possesses divine image or the inheritance of the divine Father. When this knowledge comes, the contact of God instantaneously manifests itself into the soul from beneath the wisdom-seared veil of ignorance. So the Master said that the only thing we have to do is to give up our non-spiritual consciousness, our unspiritual consciousness. We have to stop feeding and spending our entire life entertaining this ego consciousness. When we leave the body, we realize we have to be taking care of somebody else. all our life we took care of the body and the mind, which was not us. The only thing we have to do is to start to behave like a king, feel like a king, act like a king, and live this world like a king, and everything will be given to you. To me, one of the greatest stories given to me by Swami Ramdas, that great saint I met in Switzerland, who placed me in ecstasy for 24 hours. He told us when Alexander the Great went to India, he conquered a very small part of India, and there he conquered a king, a very noble king known as Chandragupta. And Alexander the Great was a great admirer of powerful and noble men. And he was very impressed by that king. He said, "Bring me that king, will you?" And he says, "So," when he met the king, "I have conquered you. How would you like to be treated?" And the king, with all his nobility, say, "Like a king." Alexander the Great say, "There goes a true king giving back his kingdom." And he gave him back his kingdom. Just for one attitude of one man. He said his entire nation. It was one great soul right there. So we are lucky in Los Angeles. You don't know how lucky you are to have some very great soul in this place. That's why our earthquake is still waiting. So when they leave the body, let's run for the hills. Well, in the meantime, we have to become spiritual, so do not doubt. This is where, as Swami Vivekananda used to say, you can't have faith in God unless first you have faith in yourself. That's what Krishnamurti is always speaking about. Have faith in yourself of who you are, and then from there on everything will spring. If you have doubt about yourself, then there is no hope. And I must say, you get that faith by deep, say, long concentration on the liberating spiritual eye, enable the yogi to destroy all delusion concerning matter. He sees the universe as the Lord created it, as an essentially undifferentiated mass of light. When the yogi retires in the medulla center and the spiritual eye, he knows all matter and energy and gases are composed of thoughts, forces. God could not separate himself in something else. The only way he could make a differentiation with himself was in thoughts. Now, what are thoughts? Are thoughts energy? No. Thoughts are portion of consciousness. Therefore, as you, as an individual human being, has become 30,000 billion pieces of consciousness, which you have no control, God created his entire creation out of himself as thoughts. And you and me, you are looking at the thought of Turiyananda, I'm looking at the thought of you. We have no reality except as thoughts. We are floating in the beam of light. When you go to the movie theater and look at the beam, is there anything real in that beam? Yet when you look at the screen, you become involved with the emotion, you begin to cry and laugh and be involved. But there is nothing in that light. There is nobody in that light, right? Same thing with creation. You and me are floating. Shri Yukteswar say, only God's idea floating in a beam of light. It's incredible. We think we are so real because we have been so hypnotized, man. I can't go to that world. One day I will. Only a yogi who knows not by imagination or intellectual high voltage, but in reality who can withdraw his consciousness as well as life force from the body by quieting the heart. Now again, since I've given up coffee, now I can talk about it. The idea is you have to work hard to quiet your heart. That's one of the most important phases for meditation. Start to drink less coffee and less tea. Unless anything which stimulates the heart has to go. You have got no choice. I tell you, it's not an easy one, especially when you like coffee. But all those stimulants, you have to stop. Your heart has to become so calm, so peaceful, so calm that you begin to immediately can enter in meditation anytime. And he said, cutting the heart and can take then through the chakras to the spiritual eye. And those only are developed enough to say that all matter are thoughts. Unless consciousness and energy reach the medullary plane, all matter seems solid and different from thoughts. Only upon reaching the medullary plane, by self-realization acquired through years of practice of the technique of Kriya Yoga, and by following all the Guru's advice, one can realize and say that all matter is condensed thoughts of God. The life force is very strong into the eyes. By deep concentration and by fixing the eye at the point between the eyebrows, and by being able to hold the light perceived there, we can gradually learn to send our consciousness and life through it into the infinite. By pecking with the back of intuition and concentration upon the spiritual eye, the soul breaks the space shell of finiteness, as a chick breaks from limitation of the shell. By meditating and concentrating upon the spiritual eye, you induce the superconscious state. Each time you look at the point between the eyebrows, you create the desire for God. When Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world, the foxes have holes and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has not place where to lay his head." Jesus was not lamenting that he had no place to live. He was speaking of his omnipresent soul who could not be caged in a nest or a house. He lived everywhere on the tract of eternity and in every little speck of space. Living everywhere, he could not confine his head of eternal wisdom and consciousness to a small space. Now, I have had that experience. I have been to space. I have seen myself floating into the universe, and the universe is not black, it's completely blue. And there's a shooting star passing me by, and it was I, and I was majestically, blissfully falling. I had nobody, but it was I. It was not Turiyananda, it was I. And I saw myself entering into colossal balls of light, and like you would see a videotape accelerated, I saw the vision of an entire life. And 7 times I kept falling in space, majestically, beautifully, blissfully, and entered 7 times into those balls of light, and each time I saw a different life. And all that can be seen by you without asking for. As you develop spiritually, God will show you the thing you have to understand. And that always are the inner expansion which has to take place. You cannot jump from here to here. If you have the yo-yo syndrome with your meditation, you meditate one day, you meditate another day, you meditate 1 week, you will never make it. It's a gradual preparation of every cell of your body to absorb completely new data of life. It's like you have to be like a paratrooper. You are jumping into the infinite. Your divine birthright is in your forehead. Philip Neri, the great clown of God of the 15th century Catholic Church, great saint of Italy, he used to say, "Here is heaven, right here is heaven." He knew it. He said, "You must change your status from that of a mortal beggar to that of a divine son. Instead of supplicating, you must demand what belongs to you by right, as a divine child who is born in the image of God. You must seek the lost kingdom of God first, then all material and spiritual things you need, and what will be added unto you as your divine birthright. If thine eye be sing, thy whole body shall be full of light," Jesus said. When doing meditation or initiation, one sees this light of the spiritual eye, one is baptized by the Holy Ghost or holy vibration. Each time you see that light here, you are being baptized, and you are, at that moment, your cells of your brain are being transformed. The spiritual eye has 3 colors. A golden ring on the outside. It represents the cosmic energy of the Om vibration, the mother of creation, the womb, or the Holy Spirit. Inside of this dark blue globe is the Christ consciousness. Inside of the blue is a white star palpitating in the heart of an opal blue light surrounded by a golden ring. Piercing the blue tunnel, one can enter the white star tunnel in the Christ eye and the cosmic eye. By those rays, the devotee penetrates the wall of matter to reach the absolute, the unmanifest kingdom, and pure avenue blessedness of spirits. Jesus also saw the spiritual eye as a door descending from heaven when his guru John the Baptist baptized him. The little star in the center symbolizes the mouth of the dove, and its 2 wings are the blue and the golden light. You see, all those symbols which are in a Christian religion, they can explain them to you. They don't know. See? The beak, the opening, is the spiritual eye, and the wings is the gold and the blue of the spiritual eye. Voices, music, and song pass through the ether. Our thoughts similarly move through the ether of cosmic consciousness. But just as no sound can be dug out of the ether without radio, so without the radio of the spiritual eye, the sense cannot register the tactual, olfactory, gustatory, auditory, or optical sensation. Every sensation you have are in your brain. There is no sensation in your body. Everything in the brain springing from your spiritual eye. The spiritual eye can perform two functions. It can act as a radio receiving apparatus and as a broadcasting station. First, an intuition passing through the heart into the spiritual eye transforms it into a receiving station. An intuition and feeling tune the spiritual eye to receive the message of the five senses, or any message of thought passing through the ether, or the vibratory picture of distant or future events. The vibratory thought pattern of an incident that is to happen in the future may be present in the ether now, owing to the action of the laws of cause and effect. In other words, you can develop power of protecting your family from future accidents which are waiting for you according to cosmic laws. As the solar system moves, we are moving into space-time continuum where everything is waiting for you. As the solar system moves into the news of tomorrow, of next week, of next month, of next year, everything is already written about your ego. But you are not the ego. You are not made in the image of the star. You are made in the image of God. Therefore, only in the degree you change your status as a spiritual being, you can change the future which is going to happen to you. When the future is there waiting for you, you won't be there. I have experienced that in my life, and I'm sure you have done too. Therefore, this is at your greatest possible advantage. Not so long ago, I called the son of a movie star. I had a vision about him being shot in the movie by mistake. And his son told me, my God, my friend made exactly the same dream. And sure enough, in one of the series he was doing, they had loaded a gun with ammunition. And instead of blank, it was a real box. He just made it. Sometimes you can protect people. Now, don't come and ask me about your future. I wouldn't know. This came spontaneously and nothing to do with it. But this is what you can do in your family when you meditate. If these fine vibrations are made to pass through the heart, tuned by intuition, and are relayed to the spiritual eye, they vibrate in myriad of life at home, organizing and arranging them into definite design, form, or vision of the future, like a computer. The spiritual data are everywhere, but can you put them together? So we say the intuition passing through the pure heart. In other words, your heart has to be clean. The heart has to be pure. So the intuition passes through the heart, move into the spiritual eye, and focus all the image of what's going to happen. But the heart, that's why the Bible says, all issues of life springs from the heart. When the purer your heart, the easier it becomes to honor. That's why the Master say, for instance, how can you recognize your friend from past incarnation? When you look at a person without sensual desires, when you are free or wanting to possess that body, you will automatically recognize your friend from the past, man and woman. Thus, the advanced students use this prismatic light and lit image materialized from the ether, or from the subconscious mind or the superconscious mind. Now, the grave danger with this is that if you have a big ego, you begin to materialize things out of your subconscious mind and have all kind of hallucination. That's why you better be careful of not playing around by trying to know the future and leave it up to God. In due time, He will tell you what you need to know. Don't look for power. Likewise, the vibratory image of distantly situated person, the electronic vibrations of their bodies and their thought perception are passing through the ether. You have seen that in the movie One Step Beyond. I'm sure you have seen some of those movies. And I've seen some of those, and those were absolutely admirable. One Step Beyond. Have you ever seen that? many years ago, like Twilight Zone, but not as, how could I say, science fiction, real happening in life, many of them. And he said, by thinking of and intuitively visualizing things, person in the heart, one can materialize their image in the spiritual eye, which then acts as a high-powered camera that photographs the vibration coming through the senses and passing through the ether and the pores of the body. Therefore, there lies the problem. Are you practicing all the techniques your guru is given to you? The master say, he who occupies time with his guru-given techniques of meditation will reach without difficulty the pinnacle of spiritual freedom. If you don't meditate, you have a huge, interesting, marvelous philosophical knowledge. It won't do you any good. It's like having a nice book about food and the best menu in the world, and you starve to death. And here, I told you about an American Indian woman who was, it's 20 years ago when I was in Phoenix. God showed that to me. It was very interesting. He showed me that article. This is an Apache medicine woman from Arizona, from the Superstition Mountain. And this is what she described. I sent that to Sri Dayamata to show to her many years ago. And this is very interesting what she says. He said, the place to which he is teleported, the word teleported, in the rumble that follow a thunderclap in a cave or a tunnel. The thunderclap is the own vibration, the tunnel is the spine. Maybe even a mine. And she said that it is an underground passage where there are many miles where a person walked without his feet touching the ground. The entrance is guarded by two rattlesnakes, a male and a female, the Ida and Pengala. The Pranayana is guarded right there, which you have to stop if you want to go into the spine. One black and one brown or cream colored, with the head entwined. In order to part them, there is a necessary ceremony to perform. This is how the 69 years old medicine woman tells it. There are two bowls carved of stone, one white symbolizing female and one blue symbolizing male. On each side of the entrance, she places a blue stone in the blue and a white stone in the white. Then she sings a sacred song, and the rattlesnake part allowing her to pass, which is the Kundalini energy at the base of the spine. Once inside, she breaks off a piece of crystal like the foam of the sea. She shoots crystal and sings a prayer beginning, O Trader of Life, grant me a long life. Then there is a hissing sound that sounds like Have you ever heard that sound? You do Kriya? Mm-hmm. It is the chief rattlesnake who has eye like moon and a star on top of his head. She says she can hear singing deep into the tunnel. She cannot see the people who are doing the singing, but the sensation is so strong that she is caught up in their happiness and is almost as she can see them. In a short time, she has traveled a very long distance deep into the tunnel. Then she says she's among the happy singing people, which is the music of the sphere, the combination of all the sounds of the spine which you can hear there. And me, who is a great lover of Mozart and Beethoven, when you hear that sound, you don't hear the sound with your ears, your whole being vibrates with that sound. The tunnel is the path of the Apache which travels when he dies. The rattlesnake, or at the entrance, the chief rattlesnake, the motionless people, is like a purgatory through which Apaches pass on their way to paradise. For them, the tunnel is one-way straight. For Lola, it is a two-way. She travels at will. It is a very beautiful place, and saying her voice rose in a high pitch, to emphasize her point. So she had Kriya Yoga. That's why. And she didn't take the lessons, I would say. She got it from God himself. So what I want to say, forget your limitation. As often you gaze on your little body, you can't help but think that you are confined in a few feet of form and that your weight is so many pounds. This idea is what binds you into the body, to its tribulation, its limitation of poverty, sickness, and ignorance. Spirit is the endless chamber of wall-less space, which is decorated with flickering stars and myriad lamps of planetary lights. You are made in the image of God, and you must forget your limitation. Make yourself one with the limitless of God, and thus end all your sorrows and suffering. In lesson 153, you have the technique of owing the three worlds. Everything will be given to you in due time, but this will be given to you only as you come steadfastly to those meditations. If you don't meditate, fear will always block your path, my dear. As you begin to learn to live with less and less food, to purify your body and depend less on matter, gradually you must learn in meditation to meditate without breathing and not be afraid when you are not breathing. Because the first thing the mind does, it experiences suffocation. Like food, I live with extremely small amount of food. My body does not need it, but my mind wants it. So I have a formidable struggle with my mind, not my body. My body can live with 3 meals a week, and I can live with juice. I don't need nothing else. My mind wants to eat every day. I don't, but I tell you it's about a struggle. Now, unless you get used to not breathe in meditation and forget the breath, fear will always block your path. Remember that? So it is a gradual development of conquering